The following is an excerpt from the book No More Prisons by Upski Wimsatt in 1999. Why are all your friends in prison? According to the U.S. Bureau of Justice Statistics, in 1980 there were fewer than 500,000 people in U.S. jails and prisons. Now there are close to 2 million. The violent crime rate has stayed about the same. In fact, it's 18% lower now than it was in 1980, according to the FBI's Unified Crime Report. But 4 times as many people are in prison. 700 new prisons have been built. The number of women in prisons has skyrocketed from 12,000 in 1980 to more than 80,000 today, a 7-fold increase. Spending on law enforcement has increased by a factor of 5. The cycle goes like this. The media needs higher ratings to sell more advertising, so they run more sensational crime shows that scare the public. The prison industry needs more people in prison to boost profits, so they lobby for more prison construction. Politicians need to create jobs for construction workers and prison guards, and they need to be seen as tough on crime. They pass tougher crime laws and kill 3 birds with 1 stone. More low-skilled jobs are created in the prison industry. Campaign contributors in the prison industry are repaid, and the tough on crime image plays well with voters whipped into false frenzy by the media over the fear of crime. More than 60% of all prisoners now are incarcerated for non-violent offenses. 1.2 million people, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics. A Senate subcommittee took a national survey of prison wardens. The survey found that 92% of wardens believe greater use should be made of alternatives to incarceration. And more significantly, wardens believe that, on average, half the offenders under their supervision could be released without endangering public safety. But prisons are a $100 billion industry. You could get college degrees in the past in prison from financial aid. Now all those programs have been cut. The most you can get is an 8th grade education now. Thousands of laws have been passed since 1980. The drug war was created, gang laws enacted, mandatory minimums and truth in sentencing laws took away judges' discretion in sentencing. Legal aid to poor people was cut dramatically, and a growing number of citizens are now ineligible to vote because of prior criminal records. The ratio per capita of white to black drug users in the U.S. is roughly 1 to 1. But the sentencing rate of whites to blacks for drug possession is 1 to 10. The amount of crack you need to get a 5-year mandatory minimum is 5 grams, but for powder cocaine it's 500 grams, which is interesting once you learn that 90% of those arrested for crack are African American. 75% of those arrested for powder cocaine are white. Can you say systematic racism? Leave aside for a moment that police and judges aren't always fair. Leave aside that prisons break up families. Leave aside that prisons incubate disease, not just AIDS, but TB, hepatitis C, and what will we hear about tomorrow? Leave aside that prisons train people to be criminals. Leave aside that they send people back out into the world with records that make it almost impossible to get any other job. Never mind what prison does to people mentally. Leave aside that the prison boom has forced dramatic budget cuts for schools, colleges, after-school programs, drug rehab, job training, Head Start, affordable housing, legal aid, every social program that keeps poor people from being vacuumed into prisons. Terrible domain. The annual cost of incarcerating a prisoner for 1 year is enough to put about 7 people through community college or rehab. Never mind that California has built 21 prisons since 1984 and only 1 university. Never mind that children as young as 14 can be tried as adults and locked up with adults. Never mind the alarming growth of prison labor and prison privatization, which means that Wall Street is directly profiting from the prison industry. Never mind that the 13th Amendment outlaws slavery except in prison, so it is literally slavery. But never mind that, because if we don't do something soon, it's about to get a lot worse.